I'm just going to give a feedback session of a few of the fun projects I had to...
Was commissioned to do.
Start off. So projects I worked on was the persistence of view LED globe, standing over there, and the Arduino self-balancing robot, which is also standing over there. Okay. Please, that's not going to work. Alrighty. It was just a video. Okay, so I'm just going to go into how it works. It works with an interrupt and a magnet and a Hall effect sensor. So every time the circle rotates and it passes the magnet, the Hall effect sensor triggers, and it triggers the timer to actually do the code. It goes through a Boolean array, which is a matrix of 8 by 5, as you can see over here. It actually sort of forms an S, and over here you can see it's forming an O. So that's how you would actually write out words. And by using this for loop over here, if the certain area of the array is a 1, it will turn the LED on, and it will go through each one, and where it's 0, it will actually turn the LED off. So I handed over to Richard to actually design the thing. There's actually a nice YouTube video from Great Scott. He made a similar one. So we just used the ring that he designed, and we built our own structure around it, because his one was actually wobbling quite a lot, and we wanted to make it more stable. So the main part of this was using a slip ring. A slip ring is a device to make wires go through a rotating, how can I explain, anything that's rotating, you want to let electronics pass through it, you can use a slip ring in this case. But it's only limited to a certain speed of RPM.
Well, tell them what the speed was.
In this
what
case,
we tried to do.
It was 300 revolutions per minute. And I think we were pushing on like
nearly 2,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so first test run, the video actually plays.
What about slip rings for DC motors?
Well, they normally got quite a substantial spring. If you look at the slip ring system,
yeah, they have
on
this
this one,
graphite.
tiny. Yeah, and it's got graphite.
I'm going to do this, because the videos do not want to play. So this is just a slow-mo video of actually how the first test run we were testing the slip ring to see if the LEDs actually stay on. And as you can see, it goes from the top to the bottom. Yeah, this was recorded in 960 frames per second, so that's why you can actually see it. And yeah, we got the code working and displaying Great Scott. That's it was basically from the YouTube video. And then I started playing around and modifying some of the variables. This was still using a Arduino Nano. So I set myself a challenge, and I wanted to make the wall. Okay, so what I started off by doing is I went and used a black and white map of the Earth. I converted it into pixels of 38 by 130 pixels. And then I used an online converter to convert the ASCII code into zeros, so, which is where land would be a black 0 and white would be, the C would be a white 0. So I had to manually go and convert all those black zeros into ones, as you can see on the board. And then I had to convert it into code format, into an array that the default software can actually use. A lot of comments. I had to write a Java script to insert commas in between all of them. So the issue was the Arduino Nano the memory was too small. So I moved over to the ESP32, which has a lot more memory and is a lot faster. And even more issues I ran into was the libraries that didn't work with the ESP32. I had to convert all the libraries to actually work with it, and also I had to change the LED library. It's a dot star script that I'm using. I had to change the library to actually work with ESP. And the results was I got it working. It was quite spectacular to see it start off for the first time. I had to call everyone over to just come and watch.
On numerous occasions.
And so the cleanup process started. And I decided to add Bluetooth control and change more LED visuals by using the ESP32 and Android Studio. I use normal Bluetooth.
Lucky bastard.
So luckily I got off and started with the template. It's just turning a basic LED on and off and being able to set the brightness. So I modified it to look a bit more appealing. Just connect it to the ESP32. And then just using a simple layout, buttons to send commands to the ESP32, a slider to send a numerical value for brightness, on-off button, and also the disconnect option.
Is that sunkable?
No, this is Android. So that was, yeah. And coding and testing, just going to okay, this is just a video clip. It's nothing to display now.
It's just shown in real time.
Yeah, it was basically how I got it the first time to actually turn on and off from using the cell phone. And this was the later on result I got. It's just another slow motion video, I'm not going to go into that. And just going to move on to the self-balancing robot that I also got into. Okay, so we started off with also a YouTube video that I followed. Gave the design over to Richard, and I followed the schematic, and I got myself sort of a layout that I wanted to follow, and I made it as compact as possible, and soldered it all onto this proof board. And this was actually as small as I could get it, and got it working. And there's also a view of the first time it ran. Luckily, Nick spotted the issue that I had. We were trying to set the gyro, we didn't know how to actually calibrate it, and luckily he spotted out that in the application you just click calibrate, and it calibrates itself, and then it works perfectly. We were struggling for about 3 weeks with this thing, and it was just a calibration issue. Okay, I think I can quickly do the demonstration.
Make it spin.
Just open the app. Connect with the device is named Blue Planet.
You've got a new cell phone, so you have this fancy new cell phone that confused the half man.
Okay, turn it on. And can actually display each continent in a different color.
And make it spin.
And it's spinning.
And it has to rotate. But not at 4 degrees per minute.
Yeah.
That's
You can also change the logo of it. Yeah, that's the nice thing about these LEDs. You can get so many combinations out of.
RGB.
Yeah.
Anything with RGB, this is the man.
I think next time, there's also an option to send over whatever wording you want to put on it, but it's still not there yet. There's still a few bugs there, but I'll get into that. And then a quick demonstration of how this thing works.
Someone's called it.
I want to try and avoid that.
Connecting. Disconnected. Connecting. Disconnected.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, you can find it. What was it called?
Sage Wave.
No, it's just
Yeah.
But not it's connected. Oh, he's got it.
Okay, got it.
For anything really.
Yes, demonstrator.
Yeah.
That wasn't, we did go.
Oh, you have some shot. Like if you click forward a little bit,
Off and on again.
There you have to calibrate.
Sorry, dude.
Okay, turn position on off. people,
I think I saw it. It was running around.
and the app itself, you can actually control it.
Oh, I've never seen it before.